The open world, a concept in video games that's become quite widespread. The wide open fields of adventure that await the player as they escape through whatever intro or tutorial sequence the game offers before setting them loose. So what makes the open world appealing? What about it is better than a more curated or linear experience? What about it enthralls so many people to keep the subgenre alive and thriving? Hello, I'm Agrius Corvus. I took a long look at what I might be able to offer this space, and this is what I came up with. Who am I? Why do you care what I think? Well, I've had a long career as quality assurance within the games industry and might occasionally have some insights that others might not. I also have a lot of experience within the open world subgenre, with all of my completionist runs on achievements being in open world titles. While I will provide my opinion on the game as a whole, I aim only to answer one question. Does the open world enhance or hinder the experience for the player in this particular game? Without further ado, let's dive in and see how Ubisoft's latest foray into the open world holds up as we explore Avatar: Frontiers of Pandora. In order to provide as fair of a review of the open world and game as possible, I will be taking efforts to experience the full variety of content and things to do. This will mostly come down to the following categories. The scale of the map in the world we play in. Is it large enough to make the open world feel important? The travel and movement powers. Do these serve to speed you along, or do they slow down progression? The look of the world. Is it vast and empty, or lush and green? Collectibles. Is there a point? Do they help to go look for, or are they padding and achievement fodder? Strongholds are common in the open world. How do they feel? Are they helpful? Do they provide any benefit for completion? Combat and enemy variety is an important factor in games, and if you've got a world that's only inhabited by some people here and there but there's no wildlife, that open world isn't serving a purpose. And lastly will be other considerations such as bugs or other weird things that have just happened. At the end, I will provide my opinion on how I feel the open world aspect helps or hinders the game. The scale of the world in Avatar: Frontiers of Pandora is 255 square kilometers, which may seem small when you compare it to others by Ubisoft, but if you add in the verticality, it feels absolutely massive. You begin the game as an orphaned Na'vi being raised in a human facility, and while at first, as a child, things seem pretty normal. But after the events of the intro and you take control, you're older. You see the change in your own scale. You have to crouch to get through doors and hallways. Humans you encounter hardly come up to your waist. And then, after cramped concrete hallways and corridors, you emerge outside into the moon of Pandora for the first time, and God, is this game pretty. The massive trees of the forest rise into the sky. The rivers and waterfalls in the distance give you a sense of just how big this place is. And then you get to the base camp, and you open your map, and you see just how massive the world truly is. This game doesn't hide its scale from you at any point. You're soon shown the high plains, and the open contrast to the dense forest really seals the deal of how big this world truly is. It knows it's so big that it gives you the ability to fly only a few hours in. That's something a lot of games withhold until the endgame, but Pandora is so big they give it to you up front, and things still feel like they're huge. This is a good thing. Nothing feels like it takes too long, but the mount doesn't shrink the sheer scale of things into obscurity. This is a map that was lovingly crafted by the devs, and it really shows. Oh, and you can actually break cloud cover in a storm and fly above the clouds. This is the kind of thing you only see in proper flight sims. The skybox is so high up to allow this, which tells you more about that verticality. As soon as you're let out into the world proper, the game begins showing you the ways that you have to help move you about the world. Vines hanging that you can grab onto to quickly ascend. Mushrooms that bounce you high up onto ledges. Leaves that'll spring you forward to faraway places. And the list goes on. All of this is shown easily and naturally to the player as they make their way through the forest, and none of it feels strange or awkward to deal with or interact with. Even back in the hangar, you're shown that you have a running slide that carries you a good distance and doesn't feel like wasted movement. Everything exists to help speed the player through their massive world, and all of this is best showcased during the run up the floating mountains to get your flying mount. Every bit of movement tech that you've acquired is on display, and running it without slowing down is very satisfying. And after, you're given a flying mount to help you navigate between locations. All of this is so fun and fluid that it feels great to perform, and the ability to call your mount while in freefall feels fantastic. And now that we have our flying mount, let's talk about the appearance of the world itself. This goes back into the love and care the devs obviously put into creating this world. During the day, everything is vibrant, it's just gorgeous to behold with its greens and purples and reds. During the night, it gets even better as the bioluminescent plants come to life. It's reminiscent of paradise planets in No Man's Sky, but dialed up to 11. It ensures that even at night, a player is able to navigate the world without need of adding in some kind of carried light when the sun goes down. It just looks amazing. The fog and rain mostly serve to hide all of this from the player, but even then, it looks and feels like a rainy, foggy day or night. The care they put in shows in spades. It's a game made by Ubisoft and there are no trademark towers. They don't need to show off the world, because every corner of it is beautiful. Avatar utilizes a few different kinds of collectibles and points of interest. The majority of these serve a purpose, either to improve your character or to build on the world of the Na'vi clan known as the Sarentu, the Storytellers. Tarsiu saplings provide you with much needed skill points. Bellsprig trees provide a boost to your health. Crafting materials provide ways to grant yourself buffs through cooking and improve your gear. Sarentu sites and memory paintings provide methods to connect with your vanished clan's history and learn a little more about how they did things. Every single bit of it works together so that when you go do side quests and seek out collectibles and points of interest, it feels like you're doing something that matters. It's not just a thing that exists to tick a number in the counter to provide you with an achievement, and that's a great choice on Ubisoft's part. Strongholds are a staple in open-world games these days, locations that an enemy has taken over to be conquered. Often, that's all there is to them. There's no mechanical benefit other than claiming them and maybe opening a new fast travel point. In Frontiers of Pandora, they do serve that purpose, sure, but these are actively polluting the area around them too. And if there's things you need to collect for crafting, none of it is usable. So you're given a reason off the cuff to go take them over, and let Pandora heal and reclaim it. This allows all the previously unobtainable things to be acquired. In some cases, this also opens a room within the stronghold that provides the player with better and upgraded human weaponry. And this appears to be the best way to acquire such things. Another good reason to head on in. This game provides plenty of enemy variety between the beasts and animals killed from hunting for the crafting materials to the human enemies and their mechs. Things never feel too much the same. Certain enemy types are handled better with different types of weapons, and this provides the player with a variety of approaches to a situation. Things never feel stale. Hunting requests the player to hit weak spots and be merciful to avoid severing your connection with Aiwa. Carnivorous creatures attack and run like animals and require a proper weapon and approach to take out. Humans on foot are all pretty standard. They can be handled with any arrow, bomb, or spear. And lastly, the mech suits can generally be taken out with well-placed explosion, or, if you can pull it off, a heavy arrow or spear to the weak point can also take them out in a single shot. The first option is loud and will alert the whole base. The second should also be loud as there's still an explosion, but no one pays it any mind. On the whole, whether hunting the beasts of the jungle or stalking/fighting the humans in their strongholds, the variety is enough to keep the player interested without becoming bored of the combat. The story is nothing new. Evil PMC want to take stuff from indigenous people. What it does well, though, is allowing you to play as a member of an alien race while still operating with a fundamentally human understanding of the universe by having you play as an orphan member raised by the humans to be a soldier. This allows your character, and you, to come from a place of human understanding and learning about how the world of Pandora works. This is great narrative design. I'm fundamentally not human, as shown by having to crouch through hallways and people looking kind of like children as you move around them, but my understanding of how things are is human because they raised me from a young age in their ways. Fantastic. As a player, I can feel part of things without disconnection. However, you're introduced to the bad guy and immediately made to want to stab him in the eye with a sharp stick. If you look close, you can see him twirling his invisible mustache under his oxygen mask. He's such a cliché evil PMC man that it's not even a question that he's going to be the guy you take out in the end on his first introduction. And then he disappears for most of the game. But there is another moment, much later, when you begin to learn the truth of the situation with you and your clan, and then go check out something new going on, and at that moment, you're finally given much better motivation to hate him as a person. This portion will cover all the strange behaviors and bugs and other less positive aspects that I've encountered in my playthrough of the game. First up is the energy system. It feels like a remnant of a survival game that was left in by accident. You're made to eat regularly, but there's little to no benefit to doing so. Having full energy and no energy provides no positives or negatives. Just keep eating when it's slow because it flashes at me to do so, or my chat during a live stream tells me it is. The buffs that food provides is already a good enough mechanical reason to encourage the player to keep food on them and eat regularly during gameplay. The energy portion of it just feels like it's an extra thing that doesn't need to be there. The cooking of the food is actually quite nice, and crafting in general is the same. You only ever need one of any given material type, and you can select which ones provide you with the stats you want and put it into the thing. Instant meal or Kevlar vest. It's not a complex system and only requires the player to interact with the gathering and hunting aspects of the game, both of which are fine, except the gathering of certain types of qualities of things requires you to remember the direction and the time of day or weather conditions to get the best ones, and this can be very frustrating. Looking for that item that can only be gathered when it's raining, well, hope the game blesses you with some, or you're stuck just waiting until it happens. Fortunately, they do provide you with areas to find better qualities without needing to wait for perfect conditions, but the game never really explains that itself. Falling damage is questionable. I have both fallen from the high up floating rocks and taken hardly any damage, only to later have dropped like 20 feet and died. There are plants that provide safety when falling long distances, but in neither situation were they present. The clip behind shows these situations, and there seems to be no rhyme or reason to why either one happened the way it did. Some missions are simply not great. The game encourages you to go seek out specific things, then actively hides them from you or makes it obtuse in how to acquire it. This is mostly quests that require you to go out and acquire certain gathering items of specific qualities, and I've already covered that, so we won't go into it again. Others, the enemies spawn on top of you, can shoot through walls, and the airspace you can use for the mission is so incredibly small that just rolling out of the way of an attack tells you to return to the quest area, and if you don't, it's a restart on the whole sequence. Oh, and there's a very small chance that you fall through the world when you fast travel. As for the game overall, I had a really good time playing it. I was pleasantly surprised at every turn, only mildly frustrated with certain aspects of it, and never felt that it was doing anything unfair towards me as a player. I could have used a little more guidance early to show you that buying equipment is the best way to improve before you start getting the really good materials, and the energy system was just a total waste of gameplay, but outside of that, I can highly recommend this game. If you just like a good, pretty world with decent gameplay and first-person perspective, or are really into Far Cry. At the end of the day, I'd say that the open world in Avatar: Frontiers of Pandora is one of the better ones out there. Nothing feels like wasted time or effort, everything you do has an impact on either yourself or the world around you, and the progression and travel around it is quick, fun, and feels nice and fluid. This game is an example of what an open world done right looks like. The choice to play it a little safe with the Far Cry open world model turned out to be the right one. It allowed them to both lovingly craft the world of Pandora in a way that is familiar to both them and the player, while also making the open world almost more of the point than the main story it tells. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed the content, please consider giving a like and subscribe, and I'll be back with more reviews like it on open world aspects and other games. Alternatively, if you want to take a look at some past games that aren't in the open world genre, you can take a look at my VOD archives for just a relaxing sort of Let's Play. Also, if you want to see the playthroughs live and in progress, you can find me in the links below. This is Agrius Corvus, signing off.